There was a time when Elon Musk didn't just live like a billionaire. He lived like a supervillain from a Bond movie. Hilltop fortresses, hidden rooms, sweeping staircases, mansions overlooking golf courses were the world's elite quietly negotiated power. And then, almost overnight, he announced he would sell it all. Every house, every possession. No more kingdom, no more California throne. Today, the same man who once controlled nearly $100 million in luxury real estate claims he is, effectively, homeless, sleeping in a 375 square foot prefab box in Texas. So what happened? Was it a publicity stunt, a financial strategy, a philosophical awakening, or something far more calculated? To understand how one of the richest men alive went from palace living to what looks like monk level minimalism, you have to rewind to the era when Elon Musk's real estate portfolio looked like a Silicon Valley fever dream. This was the Bond villain phase, the period when his success at Tesla and SpaceX was accelerating, and his personal life mirrored the scale of his ambition. California wasn't just where he lived, it was where he built a kingdom. At the center of that kingdom was Bel-Air, not just a house, a compound. The crown jewel was a $17 million colonial-style mansion sitting high above Los Angeles, overlooking the prestigious Bel-Air Country Club. The property sprawled across acres, offering privacy that only the ultra-wealthy can truly understand. Massive square footage, a grand library, multiple guest houses, a home theater, a pool with panoramic city views. It was the kind of place designed to signal power without ever needing to say it out loud. Inside, there were details that felt distinctly Musk. One room reportedly served as a kind of virtual world space for his sons, an immersive tech-driven environment, reflecting his obsession with the future. This wasn't just luxury for luxury's sake. Even at his most extravagant, there was always a hint of experimentation. He wasn't just buying space, he was building ecosystems, and Bel-Air wasn't just one house. Over time, Musk quietly accumulated multiple neighboring properties, stitching together an elite hillside domain. At its peak, his Los Angeles holdings alone were estimated to be worth close to $100 million. For a while, it looked like he was constructing a private empire one driveway at a time. Then there was the purchase that surprised almost everyone, the former home of legendary actor Gene Wilder. Unlike the sleek mansions and glass-heavy architectural statements that billionaires usually favor, this ranch-style property had a whimsical, storybook feel. It wasn't ultramodern, it wasn't cutting-edge, it had character, almost fragility. Musk reportedly bought it for $6.75 million, not because it fit his brand, but because he wanted to preserve its spirit. He made a point of ensuring that whoever eventually bought it would not demolish it. In a world where billionaires often bulldoze history to build bigger statements, this move felt oddly sentimental. But the house didn't just remain a preserved relic, it became something else entirely. Musk transformed the property into Ad Astra, a small, experimental private school designed for his children and select children of SpaceX employees. The curriculum was unconventional. No traditional grades, heavy emphasis on problem solving, ethics, engineering, and critical thinking. It wasn't just a home anymore, it was a laboratory for raising the next generation of thinkers. Then there was Hillsboro, a historic 16,000 square foot Art Deco estate that looked more like a European palace dropped into Northern California. Ornate detailing, grand ceilings, sweeping lawns, the kind of home that whispers old money rather than tech disruption. And yet, here was Musk, the disruptor-in-chief, temporarily occupying a structure that symbolized legacy wealth. In Brentwood, the tone shifted again. A sleek, mid-century modern smart home, clean lines, glass walls, integrated tech systems, efficient design. It signaled something subtle, a pivot. The maximalist collection phase was slowly giving way to something leaner, something sharper. The aesthetic began to reflect the engineering philosophy that defined Tesla and SpaceX, precision over ornamentation. By 2020, Musk's real estate footprint in California represented more than just wealth. It represented arrival, validation. He had beaten the odds, survived near bankruptcy at Tesla, revolutionized private space travel, and now lived among Hollywood elites and venture capital royalty. He had, by every conventional standard, made it. And then, in May 2020, he detonated the entire narrative with a single tweet. "I am selling almost all physical possessions, will own no house." At first, many assumed it was hyperbole. Musk was known for provocative statements, but this wasn't a joke. One by one, the mansions went up for sale, the Bel-Air properties, the historic estates, the smart homes. He offloaded them rapidly, sometimes at discounts. In certain cases, he added unusual stipulations, including conditions to protect the integrity of the Gene Wilder home. Why would someone at the absolute height of wealth liquidate their most visible symbols of success? The timing was interesting. Tesla's stock was soaring. SpaceX contracts were expanding. Musk was becoming one of the richest individuals on the planet. Yet instead of upgrading to something even more spectacular, he was walking away. Publicly, he framed it as focus. He wanted fewer distractions, less attachment, more mental clarity to pursue humanity's long-term survival through sustainable energy and multiplanetary expansion. The mansions, in that context, were anchors, beautiful but unnecessary weight. There was also a geographic shift. California, once the epicenter of his empire, was no longer aligned with his vision. High taxes, regulatory friction, cultural tension. Texas, by contrast, offered space literal and philosophical. It welcomed bold industry. It offered lower taxes. It provided proximity to SpaceX's rapidly expanding launch site in Boca Chica. And that's where the story takes its sharpest turn. Today, Today, instead of waking up in a Bel-Air compound, Musk reportedly resides near SpaceX headquarters in Boca Chica, Texas, inside a 375-square-foot prefab unit known as a boxable casita. Costing roughly $50,000, the modular home folds out from a factory-built cube into a compact living space with a kitchen, bathroom, living area, and bedroom. From marble staircases to a foldable box, the contrast is almost theatrical. But look closer, and the move feels less like a downgrade and more like a thesis statement. The boxable casita is engineered for efficiency. It's prefabricated, transportable, scalable. It represents mass manufacturing principles applied to housing the same principles Musk obsesses over in car production and rocket assembly. It's minimal, functional, replicable. Luxury, in this framework, becomes inefficiency, and the symbolism deepens when you consider the broader Texas context. Other celebrities in the Lone Star State, Matthew McConaughey, Tommy Lee Jones, and others maintain expansive ranches and traditional estates, land, fences, classic southern sprawl. Musk, by contrast, occupies something that looks closer to a prototype than a palace. While they build outward, he compresses inward. Critics argue it's branding, that the homeless billionaire narrative enhances his mythos as a mission-driven technologist unburdened by vanity. Supporters argue it's authenticity, that he genuinely sees personal comfort as secondary to planetary engineering. The truth likely lives somewhere in between. What's undeniable is the dramatic arc. In less than a decade, Musk's residential identity has flipped completely. From curated opulence to intentional austerity, from hillside kingdoms to a compact rectangle near a rocket launch pad, it mirrors his broader persona evolution. Early Musk embraced the trappings of success. Mid-career Musk weaponized spectacle. Present day, Musk leans into disruption so hard that even billionaire norms aren't safe. Selling everything wasn't just a financial maneuver, it was narrative control. By stripping himself of traditional billionaire aesthetics, he reframed what power looks like. Instead of signaling dominance through square footage, he signals it through mission intensity. There's also something psychologically fascinating about it. Most individuals, when wealth compounds, expand their footprint. More homes, more locations, more visible proof of ascent. Musk did the opposite. He collapsed his physical world while expanding his industrial one. His factories grew. His launch pads multiplied. His personal living space shrank. In a way, it's a physical manifestation of long-term thinking. If your stated goal is to colonize Mars, a Bel-Air mansion becomes almost absurd. Ornate kitchens and infinity pools don't translate to Martian regolith. Efficiency does. Modularity does. Engineering does. The tiny home becomes rehearsal. And yet, there's still an edge of controversy. Is this genuine minimalism or selective minimalism? After all, divesting from personal real estate doesn't mean detaching from influence, corporate power, or wealth itself. He may not own multiple mansions anymore, but he still controls companies valued in the hundreds of billions. So what are we really witnessing? A billionaire rejecting luxury, or a billionaire redefining it? Because perhaps, in Musk's worldview, the ultimate status symbol isn't property, it's impact. Not square footage, but planetary footprint. There's something almost monk-like about the image of the world's richest industrialist, sleeping in a compact prefab unit, steps away from rockets aimed at Mars. It feels intentional, cinematic, designed to reinforce the idea that everything, even comfort, is subordinate to mission. The dramatic evolution of Elon Musk's real estate portfolio isn't just about houses, it's about identity. It charts the transformation from tech mogul indulging in arrival to industrial architect stripping life down to function. From the Bel-Air kingdom to the Boca Chica box, from opulence to optimization, from earthbound status symbols to interplanetary ambition. And whether you see it as genius branding, genuine conviction, or something strategically in between, one thing is undeniable: no other billionaire in modern history has collapsed a $100 million property empire into a 375-square-foot experiment quite like this. In the end, maybe the real estate was never the point. Maybe the mansions were chapters, necessary but temporary, and the tiny home isn't a retreat, it's a staging ground. Because if your long-term address is Mars, even a palace starts to feel temporary.